What? There are a lot of pieces of equipment that you need in order to record music. Microphones, cables, adapters, mixers. At the center of this web of equipment is the audio interface. The audio interface turns the analog signals of the instruments and microphones and turns them into digital information that your computer can use. There's no other way for this information to get to your computer, so an audio interface is mandatory if you want to record music. Or is it? Okay, to avoid the risk of getting sued, I'm gonna stop the music right there. Buying recording equipment can get really expensive really fast. Even an audio interface, depending on the brand and the features that it has, can get quite pricey. There are some audio interfaces that range from $60 to $100, and that's pretty reasonable, but some people are just dead broke and they can't afford that. So in this video, I want to do a little experiment and see if it's possible to record a good quality song without using an audio interface. I want to do this to give an idea to the people who maybe don't have that big of a budget, an idea of the feasibility of recording music with very low-end equipment. The way that I'm going to do this is to record the vocals. I'm going to use a pretty common USB microphone, the Snowball. And to record the guitar, I'm going to be using a first act USB to 1/4 inch cable. I suppose I could use the Snowball to mic up my guitar amplifier, but to try to keep in the theme of keeping costs down, guitar amplifiers can be pretty expensive. So I'm just going to plug the guitar directly into my computer using this cable. For the drums, I'm going to use MIDI drums the way I always do. I recently bought Superior Drummer, but that's a pretty expensive VST, so I'm going to be sticking with what I would always use before I bought Superior Drummer, which is the stock sample plugin that comes in Reaper and a bunch of free drum samples that I found on the internet. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I am currently in Reaper, which is the DAW that I use. And because this is all from a cost perspective, you can download Reaper for free. Technically, it's not free. You do need to pay to get a license for it, but to use it, it's free. Well, technically, there's a free trial that technically doesn't end if you just keep on clicking on the button to say I'm still trying it. Anyways, I'm also using a bunch of free amp simulators. Right now, I'm just writing the song to see what I'm going to do. So I do have it plugged into my audio interface right now, but I will be using the same free amp simulators once I actually do the project without any without all the equipment that I usually use. I'm going to write a really simple song because the point of this video is just like a proof of concept to see what you can do with the equipment. It's not about the songwriting. So I was kind of noodling around on my guitar and I came up with a really simple kind of thrash kind of a thing. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do something like this. Messed up. Whatever. You get the point. I'm going to lay down the rough draft of the song just to see kind of like the tempo and where the beats are going to fall and all that. So I can kind of follow that as the template when I actually record the song, which is what I always do when I work on music. Alrighty, so I've mapped out the tempo of the song and the verse and the chorus. There's no bridge. It's verse, chorus, and then it ends. So just so you can hear a bit of what it sounds like. So yeah, I think my playing was a bit off, but it's the rough draft, so whatever. I think I'm gonna make the bass just play the same thing, so I guess it's on to programming the drums, and then I can kind of practice a little bit so I can get the timing right, and then it's time to start recording with the USB cable. Alrighty, so I just finished programming the drums, and even though it's a pretty simple song, once all the elements start coming together, it kind of brings it to life and maybe doesn't sound so basic and dull it's not going to sound as basic and dull as I thought it might have. So just to give you a little taste, here's a little bit of it. So I guess now I didn't think of this, but I'm going to have to write lyrics and formulate how I'm going to sing this, so I'll get back to you on that. Alrighty, so I wrote some lyrics, and they're not good. I just need to record vocals, so I wrote whatever. The syllables a lot of times don't really line up with the beats. It hardly rhymes. But the point of this is not good musicianship, it's good audio quality. So I just need something to record. So I'll give you a little preview of what I wrote and how I'm planning to kind of sing it. So here it goes. People say you can't record without an audio interface. I'm here to prove all those people wrong. Listen here and listen well, because I did just that. You're in for a shock and finally you'll shut your trap. They'll probably be damned, I'm on a budget, I can't afford equipment. Everything recorded through USB. If it's the only way I can record, then so be it. Better to make shitty quality music than not at all. Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body, bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't prove what you even have left to prove. Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't prove what you even have left to prove. So when I actually record it, I'm going to scream the lyrics, because it's a metal song. Maybe a combination of growling and screaming. I don't quite know yet. It's gonna depend on how I feel about it once I actually kind of practice screaming it. I was really off when I was doing it right now just because I just wrote it and haven't practiced it, but also because, like I mentioned, it doesn't flow very well with the music. But still, I'm going to practice a little bit on playing the guitar, the bass, which is going to be playing the same thing as the guitar, and doing the vocals. And then when I'm ready, I will record the stuff with my snowball mic and my guitar USB cable. Okay, so I've plugged in my guitar into the computer using the USB cable, and already I'm noticing a problem, which is even with the recording sensitivity set all the way to 1 on the computer, the audio signal is still maxing out. And I'm going to assume, I haven't listened to the signal yet, I'm just testing it, if it's receiving anything, but I'm going to have to assume that means it's going to be clipping, which we don't want. So I lowered the volume on my guitar using the knob, and I can now get it to a volume where it doesn't seem to be peaking. It's like halfway. If I do some louder kind of strokes, like palm muting, it kind of reaches near the top. Sometimes it does reach the top. It's really easy for this to clip unless I really lower the volume. Even then. If I really lower the volume to where it's just barely... Okay, that's better. You have to set the volume very, very low if you want to minimize any chance of this clipping. It's hard to try to get a balance on the knob on the guitar to get it to where it's going to be loud enough for it to, be usable, but not so loud that you're going to get it to clip. Now what I have to do is I have to go into my DAW and see if I can get it to recognize the audio from this USB cable. So, okay, so I changed the settings and it's working. I'm trying to get it to where the latency isn't that bad. And I tried lowering the buffering, but I lowered it too much. So let me try to see what happens if I do this. Nope, that's the same. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay, latency, that's making it a little bit disorienting to try to play the guitar. Maybe if I switch the if I switch the audio system to something different, it'll have a more desirable effect. I'm using Wave Alice right now. I'm going to try Wasapi Windows 7, 8, 10 Vista. Okay, Wasapi doesn't work. Okay, so if I choose Wasapi Windows 7, 8, 10 Vista, I have the block size at 16 samples, it seems to work. For some reason it wasn't before. I just clicked the ARM recording button off and on. And it seems to be working. The audio quality isn't noticeably degraded. There's just a little bit of a delay though. I'm wondering if I lower the block size even more, if it'll work. Hey! That's... I'm not sure if it's just my imagination, but there's still a little bit of a delay. Dare I lower it a little bit more? Okay, it works, and it sounds better. Okay, so, I guess it's time to record. Okay, I'm noticing something really weird. It seems like if I'm not recording, the delay is almost unnoticeable, but then when I start recording, it seems like there is a bit of a delay. Yeah, I think there is a little bit. And then when everything else is playing at the same time, like the drums and the click, I think because it's using more processing power at the same time while I'm recording, the delay is increased even further. So let me test that. I feel like it is a little bit, not super noticeable, I think, but then when I'm trying to play, it disorients me. Maybe I can just kind of get used to the delay a little bit. I think the delay was a little bit disorienting, but if I focus more on what I'm playing rather than what I'm hearing, it works. Now I'm going to record the chorus and see how that goes. Maybe I'm kind of imagining the delay. Maybe it's not that much more, if anything, than what I would be experiencing just through the audio interface, although I don't know. Overall, this is surprisingly workable. I was expecting to run into some kind of technical difficulties with this kind of setup, but not really. It doesn't seem that much harder. I feel like there's a little bit more delay than usual, but not enough to really mess up how I play that much. Alright, so I recorded the first guitar track. Went pretty smoothly. Now what I need to do is I need to record the second guitar track. I always record 2 guitar tracks and then pan them left and right. Okay, so I'm going to do the second guitar track now, and hopefully it goes well. Okay, so just now, I think it was because of the slight delay on the guitar, but it sounded like I was off in comparison with the other guitar. But then when I played it back, it's fine. So that's one thing to consider. I guess what I can do is just mute this other guitar, and as long as I know I'm on beat, it should be fine. And if there's any slight deviations from the 2 guitars, I can always time correct it and make sure that they're in sync. So I'm going to try that. Well, I have now recorded both of the guitars. I'll have to listen through them and make sure that they're in sync. But now it's time to record the bass. And I'm a little bit concerned about the bass just because my experience has always been that the bass has a louder signal. So it's probably not going to be good with this really sensitive audio sensitivity. Okay, so I have the bass plugged in now. It did seem louder, but I turned down a bunch of the knobs and I got it to where it's not going to clip, and it still sounds pretty decent. In fact, it doesn't sound, I don't think, at all worse than with the audio interface, so pretty good. So far, no issues. I just finished recording the bass. Overall, everything has gone really smoothly. I'm going to record the vocals at a later time. I really hope that the vocals don't sound really crappy. So far, everything has sounded pretty good, but the snowball, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. The theme of the lyrics was that I was going to prove the people who thought that you can't record without an audio interface, that I was going to prove them wrong. So I really hope that this doesn't end up, that the vocals don't sound like shit and then, mess up the whole theme of the lyrics. But I think I'm going to try to get at least a basic mix of the instrumentals and see how everything kind of comes together. Alrighty, so I've been doing some mixing and I'm actually really surprised by how good it sounds. The quality sounds basically the same as when I plug it into my audio interface. I didn't have any problems while mixing that were created by plugging in the instruments directly into the computer through USB. All the mixing problems that I had were just the same problems that I always had. The fizz from the guitars between 2 and 5K. Well, it was a little bit higher in this case. Make sure that the bass frequencies from the guitars are still playing nice with the bass frequencies with the bass guitar. And the only thing is adding in the vocals and seeing how I'm going to mix that in with everything else. Alrighty, so I'm about to record the song, and again with the microphone I'm noticing that the gain, the audio sensitivity is super high, even though I lowered it all the way to 1 on the sound settings in the computer, and I can get it to where it's decent. I just need to stand a little bit further away from the microphone than what I usually do, and it won't clip. So it's workable, but I'll just have to see how it goes once it's actually recorded and see what it sounds like. So let's get started.
People say you can't record without an audio interface. I'm here to prove all those people wrong. Listen here and listen well, because I did just that. You're in for a shock and finally you'll shut your trap.
I just listened to what I recorded until I ran out of breath and messed up. it doesn't sound that bad. Like, it sounds very usable. The only thing that I'm noticing is that because I have to stand a little bit farther than the mic than I usually do, I'm hearing a little bit of the reverb in the room. But I mean, listen to what this sounds like. Well, I mean, you probably are not going to be able to hear completely, what it sounds like because it's through the microphone of the camera. But there's no I don't think even through the camera you're gonna be able to notice that there's no obvious quality deficit, if that makes sense.
People say you can't record without an audio interface. I'm here to prove all those people are wrong. Listen here and listen well, because I did just that. You're in for a shock and finally you'll shut your trap.
Maybe a little bit on the louder notes. It kind of sounds like it's clipping. It doesn't say on the meter in Reaper that it clipped. Otherwise, it would have a little red light. But it sounds like it's clipping a little bit, but it's not like a whole lot. It's still workable. So, I think this is gonna work pretty well. So let me just finish recording.
Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't groove. What do you even have left to prove?
Okay, so I just finished recording the vocals, and there was a couple of places where maybe I could have done a little bit better with the timing, but I can try to time correct it. And again, the point of the song is not testing my musicianship, but the audio quality, so I'm not super concerned about it. So, I think that's it for tracking. Now I just need to mix the vocals. I think the instrumentals are pretty much all mixed. After I mix the vocals, then it's just a matter of mastering it, and it'll be done. Alrighty, so I've been working on the mix, and I'm really surprised how good this is sounding. The microphone, they had a lot of mid-range frequencies that I had to really scoop out. Alrighty, so I've been working on the mix, and I've got to say that it's sounding pretty good. It's, to be honest, not sounding a whole lot different, if anything, from when I just plug in all the instruments into my audio interface. And it's pretty surprising. The microphone, because it's not that good quality compared to the other microphones, I did have to do a lot of EQ where I was scooping out some mid-range frequencies, but I kind of got that under control. I kind of masked the crappy reverb of the room with a VST reverb. And yeah, I think right now all I need to do is master the song and just kind of listen to it on some different kinds of speakers to make sure that it still sounds right when you listen to it, like on your earbuds and stuff, and that should be it. So the recording process was a bit awkward because of the latency, but it wasn't too bad. If I just plowed through it, I could record the guitars without too much of a problem. And the issue was pretty much non-existent when it came to recording the vocals because I have some semi-open headphones, and that allows me to hear my voice without having to turn on the record monitoring in Reaper. There seemed to be a little bit of high-pitched hiss in the guitars that I couldn't really get rid of without just cutting out all the brightness and the guitar tone. But overall, I'm actually really surprised with how good this song sounds. What I wasn't expecting was that the quality of this song was going to sound almost exactly the same as when I use my audio interface normally. Now, before you listen to the song, keep in mind that I rushed the entire process. I wasn't taking the songwriting seriously. I mixed it pretty quickly, mastered it pretty quickly. I didn't do too much cross-referencing on different kinds of speakers. If this was a song that I was serious about, I would have taken a lot more time in writing it and mixing it and everything to make sure that it was perfect. And I would have ended up with a song that sounds a million times better. And I think the fact that this sounds pretty decent, even though I didn't put a lot of time into it, and I didn't use an audio interface, shows that you don't need a whole lot of equipment to get something that sounds really good. So with all that being said, I can now present to you the song that I made using no audio interface.
People say you can't record without an audio interface. I'm here to prove all those people are wrong. Listen here and listen well, because I did just that. You're in for a shock and finally you'll shut your trap. Audio quality be damned, I'm on a budget, I can't afford equipment. Everything's recorded through you Getting quality music and not at all. Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't groove. What do you even have left to prove? Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't groove. What do you even have left to prove? If I haven't made my point clear to you, I'll do whatever it takes to change your mind if it's the last thing I do. Dressing I just myself to someone, but in the end skill is what truly counts. Skill will triumph all. A novice with a gun is no match for a master with a rock, and that applies to music as well. This song is proof that this is true. There is no need to despair, everything is not lost. Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't groove. What do you even have left to prove? Now it's time for the chorus. Move your body and bang your head. Don't act like this doesn't groove. What do you even have left to prove? I convinced myself this is what I needed to do, and I needed to face it alone. It was my burden. But from it so foggy, everything became a blur. Always hard and confused.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel so you get notified of future videos, which also helps me out. And maybe check out some of my original music, or maybe go to my website. That's going to be it for now, and I'll see you next time.
Damn, who the hell's a motherfucker down the street? Oh shit, that's me, and I want to make life my bitch. Ain't no one stopping this one-man war machine. Two in the head, one in the chest, fucking clean. Top tier badass, sitting to the ass, and I need a hazmat just to get through your bullshit.